Hey everybody, and welcome to our deep dive today. We are going to be unpacking the symbolism of Goddess Saraswati.
Okay.
She's a really important figure in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism.
Yeah.
And she's often seen as like the deity of wisdom and learning and creativity and knowledge, all that good stuff.
Right.
But we're not just going to list off facts about her. We're going to go deep on her symbolism.
Okay.
And try to understand what makes her such a powerful and lasting symbol across cultures and time.
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating how
Yeah.
these ancient figures
Totally.
still resonate with us today.
For sure. And our source material for this deep dive is a podcast episode
Okay.
called The Symbolism of Goddess Saraswati, the Embodiment of Wisdom. And it really gets into like the nitty-gritty of her depiction and all the philosophical interpretations. And even if you're not like super familiar with Eastern philosophy, I think you'll find this stuff really relevant
Oh, for sure.
because it's all about, knowledge, creativity, even how we make decisions, like things that we all deal with in our lives.
Absolutely. There's definitely a universality to all of these concepts.
Okay, so let's start with the basics.
Okay.
Saraswati is often shown wearing white and sitting on a lotus.
Right.
And you're probably familiar with the lotus as a symbol of purity, right?
Yeah. It emerges from muddy water, but blooms into this beautiful, pristine flower.
Yeah. And so think about that in the context of today's world,
Okay.
where, we're constantly bombarded with like information and opinions and noise and everything.
Yeah.
Like she's sitting there on her lotus, reminding us to rise above all that,
Yeah.
to seek out that clear, essential knowledge.
It's a really powerful image.
Totally.
Yeah, and then that connection to purity is emphasized even further by her white attire.
Oh, yeah.
It represents that transcendence, that focus on knowledge and spiritual growth rather than getting bogged down by the material world.
It's like she's saying, hey, there's a whole other level of understanding here.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's sitting on her lotus, all serene, but she's also holding a veena, like a traditional Indian instrument.
Right.
What's the deal with that?
So the Veena, I think, is really fascinating because it speaks to this balance between logic and creativity.
Okay.
And we often think of those things as separate, right?
Yeah, like should I be more analytical or should I be more creative?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the Veena suggests that those two things are actually two sides of the same coin and that they're both essential for true wisdom.
You need both.
Exactly. You don't just have to be a bookworm or a free spirit.
Right.
It's about finding that sweet spot where logic fuels inspiration
Okay.
and creativity leads to deeper understanding.
Now this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
She's got 4 hands.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's got to be symbolic, right?
Absolutely. Each hand represents a different aspect of human learning.
Oh, okay.
So you've got mind, intellect, alertness, and ego.
Okay.
And then each hand is also holding a specific object, which also has its own symbolic meaning. Wow.
So you've got the Veena, of course, but then you also have a book, a rosary, and a pot of water.
It's like she's a walking toolbox for wisdom. But what do those objects actually represent? I'm dying to know.
So let's start with the book.
Okay.
It usually represents the Vedas in Hinduism,
Okay.
which are these ancient scriptures. But, it's not just about like the literal words on the page.
Right. It's not just about memorizing facts.
Exactly. It's about this deeper experiential knowledge,
Okay.
the kind that comes from truly understanding and internalizing those teachings.
Okay.
It's like you can read about cooking all day long,
Right.
but you don't really know how to cook until you get in the kitchen and like
Yeah.
make a mess experiment, figure it out for yourself.
So it's about taking that knowledge and applying it in the real world.
Precisely now, next to the book, you'll often see a mala or a rosary. And that symbolizes the discipline and focus needed for true learning.
It makes me think of meditation.
Yeah.
Quieting the mind so you can actually absorb knowledge. That's a great connection. It's about cultivating that stillness, that inner peace, which allows you to focus and really delve into deeper understanding.
Okay, so we've got the knowledge itself, we've got the discipline to learn it, and now we've got a pot of water. That seems a bit random.
Not at all. The pot of water symbolizes purity,
Okay.
of course. But it also represents the creative potential that exists within each of us. Think of it like this water can take on any shape, it can flow, it can adapt.
So it's like our own potential waiting to be shaped and molded through learning and experience.
Exactly. And finally, we can't forget about the swan and the peacock.
Yes.
These iconic companions of Saraswati.
Right. The swan's always just kind of hanging out at her feet.
Yeah.
And then there's the peacock, all flashy and beautiful off to the side.
Yeah, what's the symbolism there?
Exactly.
Well, the swan represents wisdom and discernment.
Okay.
You've probably heard that swans can separate milk from water.
I have heard that.
It's this metaphor for being able to distinguish between what is true and what is false.
What is important and what is just noise?
It's like that critical thinking we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
Okay.
Being able to filter through all the information and find the real gems.
And then the peacock.
Yeah.
That's-
So the peacock with its vibrant plumage
Yeah.
represents worldly distractions.
Okay.
Those shiny objects that tempt us away
Mm-hmm.
from the pursuit of true knowledge.
So it's like she's choosing wisdom over superficiality.
Absolutely. She's not interested in fleeting trends or
Nope.
empty displays.
Okay.
Her focus is on that deeper, lasting wisdom.
It makes you think about what we prioritize in our own lives,
Yeah.
right? Are we chasing after peacock feathers?
Yeah.
Or are we seeking that swan-like clarity?
That is a great question to reflect on, and it's something that the podcast episode really delves into.
Okay.
You know, it talks about how all of these symbols taken together
Mm-hmm.
point to a certain philosophy of life,
Okay.
a way of approaching knowledge and learning.
I'm all ears. What's the big takeaway here? What's Saraswati trying to tell us? Well, one of the key messages is the importance of self-discipline.
Okay.
Remember, the mala,
Mhm.
learning isn't always easy. It requires effort,
Right.
focus, and a willingness to stick with it even when it gets tough.
No pain, no gain, right?
Exactly. But it's not just about grinding away.
Okay.
You know, Saraswati also emphasizes the importance of finding joy in the process of learning.
Okay.
Remember the yidana, that
Yeah.
balance between logic and creativity?
Right.
It's about approaching knowledge with curiosity and enthusiasm,
Okay.
allowing yourself to be inspired and delighted
Yeah.
with the process of discovery.
Don't just be a robot crunching numbers and memorizing facts.
Exactly.
Find the music in it, the beauty, the spark that makes it all worthwhile.
Exactly. And then finally, there's this really important message about detachment from material things.
Okay, so we don't all have to become monks and live in caves.
No, not necessarily. But it's about recognizing that true fulfillment doesn't come from acquiring more stuff, but from cultivating inner peace and wisdom.
It's like knowledge and understanding are the real treasures.
Precisely.
Right? They can't be taken away from you. They don't lose their value.
And that's something that is incredibly relevant today
Yeah.
in our world of consumerism and constant craving.
Sure.
You know, Saraswati's message is a powerful antidote to that. It's about finding satisfaction in the pursuit of knowledge, in the growth of your own understanding.
This is so insightful, but I have to ask, what about doubt? I mean, we're talking about the pursuit of knowledge,
Yeah,
but isn't doubt like a natural part of that process?
that's a fantastic question, and it's one that we'll delve into in more detail in the final part of this deep dive.
Okay.
But I'll say this, Saraswati isn't afraid of doubt.
Really?
In fact, she embraces it.
I never thought about it that way.
It's like the swan constantly testing and refining
Yeah.
its ability to discern. Doubt is just another tool for learning,
Okay.
a way to refine our understanding and push us toward deeper truths.
I'm already intrigued. I can't wait to explore that more in the next part. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Saraswati's symbolism. And I'm really excited to pick up where we left off, talking about doubt.
Okay.
It's not something you usually associate with the goddess of wisdom, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a surprising perspective. But you know, the more you think about it,
Right.
the more it makes sense. Because, you know, we often talk about knowledge as this like solid, unchanging thing, like
Yeah.
a set of facts that
Yeah.
you can just memorize and be done with.
But it's so much more dynamic than that.
Exactly. Knowledge is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And our understanding of it is always shifting.
Right.
And doubt is really what drives that evolution.
Okay.
It forces us to question our assumptions, to look for new evidence, to refine our understanding.
It's like that image of the lotus, constantly emerging from the mud, reaching for the light.
I love that. Yeah.
There's this sense of continuous growth,
Yeah.
but always striving for like a better understanding.
I love that connection. And doubt is that little nudge that keeps us moving forward.
Yeah.
That keeps us from getting complacent in our understanding.
So it's not about eliminating doubt altogether.
Right.
It's about using it as a tool for growth.
Exactly. Think of it like this. You come across a new piece of information.
Okay.
Do you just accept it at face value?
Right.
Or do you question it Test it against what you already know. See if it fits.
You're like a detective.
Exactly.
Right, gathering clues, looking for inconsistencies, trying to piece together the truth.
Exactly, and that's where that swan symbolism comes back in.
Okay.
Remember, the swan represents discernment.
Right.
The ability to distinguish between truth and falsehood. And doubt is what helps us sharpen that discernment.
Yeah.
To become more critical thinkers, more careful in our analysis.
This is making me think about all the times I've struggled with like a new concept or idea. Maybe those weren't moments of failure, but actually opportunities for growth moments where doubt was pushing me to dig deeper.
It's a powerful reframe, isn't it? Instead of seeing doubt as like a sign of weakness,
Yeah.
we can start to see it as a sign of intellectual curiosity,
Okay.
a willingness to challenge our own beliefs and assumptions.
So how do we actually do that? How do we cultivate that kind of healthy doubt?
Well, I think a big part of it is cultivating curiosity.
Okay.
When we approach doubt with a sense of wonder, a genuine desire to learn and understand, it transforms from a source of anxiety into a source of inspiration.
Like shifting from, I don't know, to I wonder.
Exactly. And that subtle shift in perspective can make all the difference.
Right.
It opens us up to new possibilities, to new ways of seeing the world.
It's like that saying, the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know.
That's the beauty of it. The pursuit of knowledge is a never-ending journey.
Yeah.
And doubt is our trusty companion along the way.
Right.
Always nudging us to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep growing.
Wow, this has been an incredible deep dive. We started with these simple images. A woman in white, a lotus flower, a musical instrument. And we ended up talking about doubt, curiosity, the very nature of knowledge itself.
It's amazing how these ancient symbols can still hold so much relevance for us today.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with this thought.
Okay.
The next time you find yourself like wrestling with doubt, don't shy away from it. Embrace it.
Yeah.
Let it guide you towards deeper understanding and a more nuanced perspective. Remember Saraswati, the goddess, who embraces both wisdom and doubt, and let her inspire you on your own journey of learning and growth. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating exploration.